Everyone, it's Alexis Cardoza.
What's up, everybody? It's the Wild Rhino Clark Connors from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I am here getting wild, drinking an 805.
Hey, this is Billy Starks.
Rip F and Bison. I ran out of booze.
Join us because we're drinking at Moe's. I am the fire starter, the Carney Killer. I am born to die, Jake Christ.
This is Bobby Olson. We're drinking at Moe's. You better hit like and subscribe.
All right, everybody, welcome Drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, as always, like, subscribe, comment, all that good shit, because that YouTube algorithm is a pain in the ass. Where most places you can find your podcast, we're getting in even more places. Today, I have with me Figure Kingdom, the guy you've seen him, you've seen his pictures all over social media. Different wrestling figures all over the gambit of figures. Does some amazing work. Even got a little code there with a place that I'm hoping one day to get a discount code with, at Ringside Collectibles. But how are you doing?
I'm phenomenal, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. I got a big month coming up. I got a handful of interviews with the people from the promotion that the SATs are running out of New York. Wrestling Is Now. Nice. Including them. So having them on again is going to be nice. But like I said, I can't complain.
Sweet, brother.
Well, one thing I like to start off with each guest with, especially the first timers, is what got you started as a fan of wrestling? Because, a lot of your pictures, the figures you have, a lot of wrestling stuff, you got started being a fan in there somewhere.
Yeah, man. So I got started on it by my dad. Just growing up in the Bay Area, like we'd always watch wrestling like on Saturdays, of course, WWF, and then later on, like during the day, WCW. He'd take me to like all the house shows, and like it was I also remember like do you remember the ice cream bars? Of course, you remember the ice cream bars.
Yes,
Everybody
yes,
does.
I do.
Yeah. So those were like a big hit with me as well. So in a way, was the ice cream bars in combination with like the toys and then like the commercials, and it was just like hitting me from all these different directions, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm sold. And it's pretty much been in my life ever since.
Oh yeah, I mean back in the day, those figure commercials that they'd have, where they'd have all the guys in there, and there's some pretty epic commercials.
The commercials, am I right? So
oh yeah,
lately, like on my page, so the name Figure Kingdom, right? It isn't just wrestling Figure Kingdom. So at the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, well, I need to live up to the moniker, the name Figure Kingdom. So I just started doing everything. And I remember like the 80s and 90s commercials, right? They had like the lights and the lasers and the smoke and the fog and, like the overly animated voices. And to me, like that's what got me. So if you take a look like on my pages now, I've incorporated like a similar style where I'll do like an unboxing, or I'll do like a run through of like whatever toy. I just posted one earlier on this day, and so I'm taking big inspiration from those commercials.
Oh, I was gonna say, I've loved some of the pictures you've had coming out. A lot of, we'll go over some of these. The Mortal Kombat. Those are ones I haven't gotten into collecting them, but I do enjoy. They have some pretty detailed, pretty awesome figures coming out in those Mortal Kombat lines, and the way you have everything set up, and the lighting and everything, you do a very good job.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I got late to the party on like every single other line besides wrestling. Wrestling was it's in my blood, so to speak. So like I collected wrestling figures ever since like I was like in diapers. So it wasn't until like the last year or so I was just like, you know what? I have other interests as well. Like I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batman,
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, and video games, Street Fighter, and that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it wasn't until like the last year or so that I really was just like, you know what? If I ever want to like do this full time, I got to go in all in on everything. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've been doing it all, man.
Oh yeah, no, you bring up another line that we'll go ahead and jump right into some of these. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those, when I was growing up, it was wrestling and Ninja Turtles for me, man. I remember, I don't know how many survived me growing up and going into adulthood, but I do remember now that I've been getting some things from my parents' house. I do have some loose original Ninja Turtle figures, but then I've been slowly building up. I have the combo pack Michelangelo and Street Fighter. I think it was Chun-Li. That
Oh yeah, that's right. I believe it's a Playmates.
I
I'm not
believe it
mistaken.
might be.
Yeah, and I know that Super Seven did some sweet like flashback like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like in the same similar style as like what we had when we were kids. So I had to have those as well. But yeah, man, I agree. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and WWF, and then there was like everything else.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. My other favorite that I have in my collection as far as Ninja Turtles, I bought at a recent collectible show over the last year. It was I think it was 30th anniversary edition Super Shredder.
Yeah.
The big one with the cape, and like even the spikes on his shoulders are all purple and stuff.
Was it the NECA, the quarter scale? Is that the one you're talking about?
It might be. I got everything downstairs in my soon-to-be man cave, so I would have to go down and pull that one out. But I believe that might be the one.
Okay, yeah, because in my office, like above my desk, like on it's almost like like a little mini pedestal. Like I have like all like quarter scale Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then like I have like a giant shredder as well, and they're all like like in their like little mini cases. So yeah,
Nice.
man, like it's everything.
Oh yeah, no, and then we talked a little bit about the Mortal Kombat figures. I will admit that I didn't personally get into the Mortal Kombat figures until like I'd say the last year or so, watching another content creator out there, the caged guy that I'm trying to remember the name of his Uncaged Games. That's it. I was having a brain fart there, but he does a lot of stuff with the Mortal Kombat figures, buying everything Mortal Kombat, as he says. And like some of those figures that they have are pretty sweet.
Yeah, they are. So I've been like going down an expensive rabbit hole with the Storm collectibles. And like I said before, like I got to the party super late. So now I'm buying everything like 2-3 times like what it was, like originally. But I mean, it was such a big part of my childhood, which now I'm like, you know what? I mean, that's part of the game. Sometimes we have to, like cough it up if we really want to, like dive down that nostalgia rabbit hole. But yeah, man, I actually don't mind doing it for stuff that I like.
Oh yeah, no, stuff that you have that nostalgia aspect, where, you know, even if you go and buy the original stuff, like with the Ninja Turtles, or there's like the vintage Mortal Kombat figures that are in like the smaller GI Joe style that I know a lot of people are heavy into. A lot of people I know with Uncaged games, and then a guy that I'm also a fan of, another collectible that actually also does some figure photography as well, the wrestler Ethan Page. He's heavy into
Okay.
those. He's heavy into those, GI Joe style Mortal Kombat figures, and going in and getting stuff that maybe he didn't have growing up, but it's like, what? He has the money to do it now, so why not?
I agree, man. And like to me, this is like it's more than like a passion. You know what I mean? Like I love this stuff so much to the point where I've had like collaborations, deals, and sponsorships, and even jobs with like big companies. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe something kind of fell into me. So I've been pursuing it. Like trying to make this like my full-time gig. And yeah, man. Fingers crossed that I'll get there.
No, definitely. I mean, you've done an impressive job so far, and you've leaned into some of the sponsorships. I know you got a discount code with Ringside Collectibles, which I do enjoy going off of there, because if I'm gonna be ordering something online, I know with them that more often than not, it's gonna come to me as mint as possible.
Right. Yeah, which most people don't know that it took me like 6 years to be able to have like a code or a relationship or working relationship with Ringside. Like I knocked on so many doors for like those initial first 6 years. And when people reach out and they're like, well, how can I get a code, or how can I guess open the doors of communication with them? And I told them, I'm just like, well, first things first is, like just patience. And, like you really have to believe in yourself, and you have to do it, like every day. Cause that's my mentality. It's just like, well, think about it like as a job, right? You wouldn't go to a job one or twice a week or once or twice every couple of weeks and expect to get a promotion. Like you have to show up day in and day out, like in the weeds, and you have to put in the work. But the more that you put in the work, like the more it comes out in your, like in your following, and then your presence grows. And the next thing you know, more opportunities show up. So keep knocking on those doors. Do not take no for an answer. And sooner or later, the cream will rise to the top, and you will get what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah. You know what? And when you said that right there, that reminded me of one of my favorite figures. I have the Target exclusive Ultimate Edition Macho Man, the NWO looking style Macho Man.
Yep.
I just heard the cream will rise to the top, in his voice, and it just like, I don't know, a flashback moment there for me.
Of course, man.
But speaking of that figure, we'll dive into a little bit of, some of the wrestling side of things. WWE has been known for pumping out a consistently good amount of figures the last few years. You got them pumping out the, like I mentioned, the Target exclusive Macho Man, or all those other Ultimate Editions. You have the famous Elites, and just recently they came out with a new bunch of the pretty sweet looking defining moments, which I don't have any of them yet in my collection, but looking to get them in there at some point.
Yeah, so I've been with Mattel.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been with like a Mattel diehard since like day one. and Mattel started off good. And it wasn't only until like the last, I'll say maybe like 3 years, where now they're like great. Like it seems to me like almost every release, it's like, holy crap. Just like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm like blown away. Like, I look at the faces, like they'll have, like little wrinkles around it. Like, if you really take your time to like examine the faces, like wrinkles around like their neck, or, like smile lines. And you look at other, like similar toys, and while they're good, they haven't hit that stride yet that I feel Mattel is just running on all cylinders right now.
Oh yeah, and I mean Mattel. I mean, you think of toys, you think of one of the companies that comes up right off the top of most people's heads, Mattel. And they've got it down. They've got things going pretty good. I'm kind of excited with these new defining moments ones that I've seen the pictures of the Cody Rhodes one, and it's like, holy crap, the detail they got, even down to the torn pec and all the discoloration that he had with that. It's like, god dang, they really know how to get that stuff down.
Yeah, man, they've got an amazing team doing all their work. Currently, like what I'm looking at though is that WCW Monday Nitro stage, and fingers crossed for somebody like me, that we get that thing funded, because I would love nothing more than to have that in my collection.
Oh man, and just imagine all of the new possibilities of, for figure photography, getting that stage, and just the infinite amounts of possibilities that come just from getting that alone.
So interesting that we talk about the Mattel and the WCW Monday Nitro stage. I'll give you a little scoop of my crazy week this week. So I got an invitation this week to go to the Mattel headquarters in Segundo, California, and shoot the stage. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any time off from my day job to go and take time off and to go down there. But man, it was hard to pass up that kind of opportunity, because that's something that I've been grinding for like the last 6-7 years.
Oh, I can only imagine, the hard work that it goes into everything that you do, and then finally getting a chance like that, but then having to pass it up because, I mean, the
those
day
bills
job
that come
pays the bills.
Of course, like those bills ain't gonna pay for themselves. But yeah, I'm confident that more opportunities will come along. Like I said before, if you keep at it, if you keep grinding and showing up and putting in the work, and having a good attitude above all else, like it'll come back around.
Oh, totally agree. Now, and there's other wrestling promotions out there that are putting out some great figures. AEW right now, they're coming into their stride. They had a little bit of a rough start with some of theirs, but they're coming along, and they got what, 3 different lines now?
Yeah, I mean the Jazzware stuff has been like second to none. Lately, I got the AEW, the Supreme Penta, and Rey Fenix. And those figures are just, I was blown away by those.
Oh, yeah.
I think I even said it like on my Twitter. I was just like, these are hands down like the best Jazzwares figures like produced to date. And they are. Later on tonight, I'll actually have an AEW shoot. But yeah, man, those Supreme figures, they've been just insane.
Oh man, yeah. I remember when I first saw just the pictures of the Penta and Rey Fenix Supremes, I'm like, god damn, like just the detail. And I'm not
everything
one
from the jackets to the like the headdresses. And
oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm Mexican, right? And so when I saw that big epic entrance that they had. I forget at which pay-per-view it was, but when I saw that and then they came out and like AEW actually made them look cool instead of, like riding around in like lawnmowers or something like that, how they usually have us in. I was just like, oh, these are my guys. These are my boys. So ever since then, I was like instantly sold. And then when I got the figures in hand, I was just like, oh my gosh, like it feels good to see these guys do good.
Oh, no, totally agree. I've been a fan of Penta and Ray Phoenix since the Lucha Underground days, and, seeing where they're at now, winning the Ring of Honor tag titles and the success that they're having. They've had multiple AEW figures, and these new ones probably not. That brain fart there. Anyways, I would say not even probably about it. The best of the AEW figures that they have had, for sure. And I mean, any of those Supreme figures that they've had, going from Cody and then Kenny Omega and what was it? Malachi Black in his one. They've all been epic.
Yeah, man. I just wonder. Okay, so we're getting, like a bunch of like cool looking figures and whatnot from them. Like they do have to fix a few things. So one of the things that I would, because I want them to do great, right? I want them to be around for like the next 5, 10, 15 years, like doing what they're doing. But I don't know if you've noticed or not, or some of your other listeners have noticed, but their figures get like really wobbly. I don't know if it's like the quality of the plastic, but as soon as like you take them out of the packaging and you handle them a little bit, it's like they almost like feel like super rubbery in your hand, and then they feel loose. Do you remember like the Jack's Bone Crunchers, like the original ones?
Yeah.
Remember that? Like you would have like Razor Ramon's arm falling off. Like that's kind of how it feels like. Like they're amazing, like aesthetically wise, but then they also have to improve like on a few things, And like I'm not, and like Conan says, I'm not hating, I'm just stating.
No, definitely, I can agree completely. Although myself, I'm not so much of a loose collector right now. I've told a few people that, let's say somebody were to get me a figure that they didn't realize already had. I would open one of them, but I'd leave the other because I do like to, if at all possible, get a figure signed, because I've had the good fortune of getting to meet a handful of people to get figures signed from like the AEW line. I've had the pleasure of meeting Hangman Page and Lance Archer. I've had the pleasure of getting figures signed from people like Swerve, Keith Lee, Rich Swann, Kushida, a whole bunch. And I like just having that story of, having the figure, getting to meet them. So I haven't been awesome. I haven't been able to figure so much of, when taking them out of the package, but I can see with those that are loose collectors where you can see some stuff like that.
Yeah, so to me it's like you almost have to like take it out of the packaging to like appreciate the artwork, right? It's like you get to like fully pose them in your hand, and like you look at all the little intricacies, like if you want to look at some of their tattoo work, or some kind of like entrance gear, you get to fully appreciate that in your hand, like you get to like mold it almost, if you will, and then it takes you back to like that nostalgia that you had when you first initially saw that match. But I can also see like the other side of that, you know, you were saying it's like having that signed, and then it takes you back to that special day, and then having that moment. Like I can also appreciate that. You know, it's like almost like a little piece of artwork that you get to hang up on your wall and hold on to that forever.
Oh, totally. And I with getting autographed figures, I'm not one that really goes out and buys ones that are already autographed. I like that one of, like I said, going up to that person, having the figure and having them sign it. And you know what? Even getting a picture taken with them, and I've always joked around with this, especially with my signed Green Ranger Funko Pop from Jason David Frank, God rest his soul. I
Oh,
met
I love
him.
Power Rangers. God bless Jason David Frank, man. One of my heroes. I love that guy.
Oh, totally. He was the nicest guy when I met him. It actually ended up being only a couple months before everything happened with him. And I love telling the story with, people talking about, buying things that are already autographed and talking about stuff like certificates of authenticity. And I can literally just take out that picture I had with him where he's literally holding the Funko Pop after he signed it, like they hold those morphin things.
Right. The
And I could be like,
communicators.
is that good enough for you? He's literally holding it right there.
Oh, that's so sweet, man. Yeah, he was such an inspirational guy too. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a shame that he's gone too soon.
No, totally. And one going back to the wrestling side of things that I was noticing as of late, there's not only just AEW and WWE making figures, you also have other companies getting out there making figures. I know I've heard Impact's getting back out there with a line.
MLW?
MLW, yes, I remember hearing about them. I don't know where they are in the
Boss Fight. They're Boss Fight Studios is making their action figures, and I do believe that they're up on Big Bad Toy Store. So if you guys want to pre-order them, do use that link in my Figure Kingdom bio, and you'll see them there.
Definitely. And I
New Japan
remember
Pro Wrestling also had a like a short little run there with the Super Sevens, and then Ringside Collectibles also had the Minoru Suzuki Storm Collectibles, which, by the way, that Storm Collectibles Minoru, hands down one of my best favorite figures of like all time. If you don't have that action figure, do yourself a favor, grab that, and you'll see why. There's something about the Storm figures though that just feel really premium in hand. Everything from like the faces to like the posing to even like the packaging itself. It's really a work of art.
Oh yeah. The one I'm glad you brought up the New Japan figures, because there is one in there besides the Minoru Suzuki one, which that is on my wish list, but one that is also up there with that one, who is also another favorite of mine from New Japan, Tomohiro Ishii. I want that figure of his from that line.
Yeah, I believe Super 7 were the ones that made those, and
yes.
Yeah, those were tremendous figures. It's kind of a shame that they only had like two series, and then like nothing else like ever came from. I want to say like they had some stuff announced, but nothing ever came from it afterwards. I wonder why, but I mean, I enjoyed them, especially that Okada from Super 7.
Yes,
that one was a badass figure. Not so much like the posing and the like the articulation, but more so like the accessories and like what it came with it. Like I wish that Mattel would have taken like a page out of their book and like had some of their like that Okada jacket, that coat was like amazing.
Oh yeah.
it had like all these little intricate details and stuff like that. And like that Cody Rhodes that we were talking about earlier, like you saw that jacket, the Ultimate Edition. It looks a little baggy, so that's why I'm like, well, why didn't you guys just take a page out of the Super 7 handbook and try something like that? Or even, towards like the jazz wears kind of side, it's like, well, if you can't do that, then just do it molded. But yeah, Mattel's, it's looking a little baggy. It's a little stiffsky.
And there have been figures from those lines on both sides that I just felt looked a little off. Like the AEW line, I love getting the ones that have the title belts with them.
Right. Because it feels like you're getting more bang for your buck, right?
Oh,
It's
totally.
Like, yeah. Same with me though. Okay, so like the first couple of like iterations of the line, it's like you weren't even getting like an extra hand. It was just like your figure and then like maybe one hand. I'm like, bro, like your other competitors, like MLW, Mattel, WWE, like Super 7, like they're giving us 3-4 pairs of hands sometimes, like an extra head.
Yep.
Throw us a bone, throw us an extra t-shirt, like at least some pairs of hands. We don't even get that.
Yeah. And
so I always tell people, like if you don't like something, like speak up. Of course, be respectful when like you're asking for stuff, but speak up, because that's the only way you're ever gonna have change, is that like to tell people, it's like, hey, can we also get this? And more often than not, like they're gonna want to listen in.
Oh yeah, and like you mentioned, being respectful when you're bringing up stuff like that, because you're not gonna get anybody really wanting to listen to you if you're just being a jackass about it.
Yeah, because I see a whole lot of that online sometimes, and especially with like this the WCW Nitro arena. Like I see like the worst of the worst. Like I saw like the live like their live feed from like one of their like initial promo videos, and I just saw, it was like I didn't even want to say anything like during the stream. I was just like almost embarrassed for everybody there. It's just like so much negativity and hate. I'm just thinking like, you doing that isn't going to make, like isn't going to do anyone any favors.
Oh, totally. One question before we get into two of my categories I have to kind of round stuff off a little here is, when it comes to figure photography, what in your opinion makes for people talking about figures being poetic or photogenic or whatever you might be, what in your opinion, when it comes to figures, makes them good for figure photography?
Well, the first thing that pops out to me is like relatability, right? What's the story behind them? I mean, you can have like the coolest looking action figure, but if it doesn't make you feel anything, then it's, it's not really that toyetic. But then anything after that is, like things with like color, anything with like cool splashes of color or like an expressive face. You know what I mean? Like, say if you would have had somebody like a Malachi Black, right? Super dark, ferocious, killer kind of character. But then if you would have had him with like a smiling face, it wouldn't make too much sense, right?
Very
so that's
true.
Why it's just like, yeah. So that's why it's just like, okay, well, I if you look at, like most of my photography, you see stuff with like an intense kind of face. So those are things that I personally love. But especially like the feel, like make me feel something, that's a big one.
Totally. And, they talk about, some of the figures, some of the more intimidating people that have figures, it definitely helps when, these lines that are having multiple heads, with the figures, you have guys like, especially with Brock Lesnar now going back to being kind of the big bad heel guy that we've all known for so many years. And some of the figures where, he has that little real grit in his face, and, others like I'm trying to think. Undertaker, I've seen some pretty good ones of, where he does the thing with his eyes where it looks like they're rolling back in his head, and he has that thing he does with his tongue sticking out. Like, man, that's some good stuff.
I mean, 10-year-old me would have gone crazy for, like half the stuff that we're getting now, like, I mean, we had, like the Hasbros and the LJNs and, like stuff like that. And now we're getting stuff like interchangeable torsos, interchangeable heads and hands. And, like it's just wild what these figures are getting and how they're looking.
Oh, yeah, man. I know going from when I was growing up, it was at the tail end of the LJN lifespan, but really got into everything with the Hasbros. And it's like, yeah, it was cool. They had their movements and stuff. But if you were one that, was, imagining out a match with, one of my favorites at the time, the Big Boss Man versus, I don't know, Ultimate Warrior. I know I had Hasbros of both of them. And it's like very kind of limited on what you can do as far as maneuvers with those guys. And now getting everything, it's definitely, very, very different. And the like you said with yourself, 10-year-old me would have been just drooling at all the possibilities.
Yeah, which in a way though, like I wondered, like, what's the next generation of toys gonna look like? Or,
I know, right?
like if they're that good now, imagine what like the next 5-10 years of like action figures and toys and collectibles, because it seems like every few months, like they hit another curve. It's just like, what's next? Because that they're gonna step up their game.
Oh yeah. No, it's like every year, with every toy company out there, every wrestling promotion, they're always stepping up their game because everybody wants to know, how are you going to top that last line, that last figure? And more often than not, you have some people really knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Well, to kind of round things off, I have, like I said, 2 categories. One's a little bit of a name game where I name off some people and you give me the first thoughts that pop into your head when it comes to that person. And
okay,
we talked a lot about this one guy. Things are a little uncertain right now where he's going as far as things after WrestleMania, but people are still loving him. The American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. So first thing that comes to my mind is the story, hard times. Could it be that part of his story is that he's got to go through his hard times? He's got to be beat down. He's got to face adversity. Because, I mean, think about it. Like, he came back to WWE and he just lost to Roman, and that was it. Would it have made much sense if he just would have just beaten Roman and then that was it? It's just like, okay, story's over. It's like, imagine that being a movie. Do you want to watch that movie? Because I know I wouldn't. Like, he's got to face adversity. He's got to go upstream, uphill, and face his hard times. And think about how sweet that final confetti type of moment, like at WrestleMania, will be next year or wherever it is. So yeah.
No, I can see where you're coming from. I remember myself. I was, right afterwards. I'm like, I was under the man. His hard times and his, coming from adversity was everything from going through everything that led up to when he left WWE after that first run, going to the independents, going to Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, starting AEW, and then some of the difficulties he had along that road, and then coming back to WWE.
But think about how many people, like actually kept up with that. Like the
Yeah.
WWE audience, it's mostly families. It's mostly, like you look
Very
in the
true.
crowd, there's like little kids out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what
No.
if that's their very first show that they're ever tuning
Yeah.
in? Or
Yeah.
maybe they've just started watching WWE right around the Rumble season, WrestleMania
Yeah.
season. And that's what they know of Cody Rhodes. So,
No, I
like people
can.
like me and you, people like me and you, like we know about, like him not being wanted in WWE and then going to Ring of Honor. And it's a tremendous story though, but to the, like the casual, like
Yeah.
family, like
Yeah.
that's where the story has to make sense for them.
Nope, I can definitely understand from that point of view. Next person I want to talk about was actually one of the first figures my wife ever bought me for this last Valentine's Day. I got the Ultimate Edition, Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, that it's one of those figures though that you're definitely going to want in your collection. We were talking about earlier on though, like an expressive kind of face, right?
Yeah.
So that's one. It was a little bit of a miss. You know what I mean? Like, how many heads does it come with? 2?
I wanted to say 2. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's an ultimate edition. Give us, like that extra third head. Like skimp out on some of the extra hands and just give us that third expressive head. But I love that figure though. Everything from like the tan to the hair and like that sweet coat. You look at the detailing on the back of that. That's insane.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
Totally. One of my favorites. I mean, it kind of has sentimental value because it was one of the first ones my wife ever got me. She also got me the Brock Lesnar Ultimate Edition that had the 2 title belts in it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was a great one as well.
Oh yeah, and it had another great I wanted to say it did have that expressive face that we've talked about.
Yeah, I had both of them just for like figure photography reasons though. But yeah, like you could even see like in the short time from like the first Brock Ultimate Edition to like the latest one, like they have like the drop down legs, the drop down hips. Those are super cool. I love the heads. I love the ponytail, like on the modern one as well. Like they definitely, like they fixed a lot of holes in their game. Even like the paint, like it seems like the paint that they use now, it's like a lot more matte versus it was a little bit shinier back then. But yeah, I love both of those.
Oh, definitely. Next person, somebody I have a couple figures of. This guy that I've joked that I'm not that I don't get starstruck too easily. But if I ever met this guy, I don't know if I'd be able to get a word out. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh man, I mean, what can I say? The guy is, to me, like the biggest name in pro wrestling probably ever. I mean, in my day, like it was Hulk Hogan, and then obviously you had a few, like the Hitman and Shawn Michaels and other guys. And while they were good, I mean, Stone Cold took it to a whole nother level, right?
Oh yeah.
Everybody, it seemed like, if not was watching pro wrestling at that time, I just knew who he was and what he was all about. So yeah, man, he's had a whole bunch of. I mean, if anybody's had more figures, it's probably him. Think about it, like he's had everything from like the Jack's Bone Crunchers and how many, like he had during like the Jack's Classic days and then the Mattels and I mean, yeah, the guy's a legend for obvious reasons.
Oh, totally. I have the Ultimate Edition where he's the belt that's included is I don't want to say it's the Winged Eagle, but that one that was after the Winged Eagle where it was the big circular thing in the middle.
Oh, the Big Eagle. Yeah, the Big Eagle.
The Big Eagle, yes. That one. That is a damn nice figure.
Yeah, and again, I like that it came with like multiple heads, like it had a smiling, it had a serious, and then it had like an expressive head. So
Yeah.
yeah, like that they got it right when they got. How can you mess up Stone Cold Steve Austin though? You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
one figure. It's just like take your time with, but yeah, they got it right when they got that figure.
definitely. Next person, a guy that there with AEW is, taking a little bit of a turn with this character, although some might say it was a little bit of a gradual turn, but I'm loving it. Part of the Blackpool Combat Club. Wow, my tongue was getting tied there. John Moxley.
Yeah. So again, it's like one of those guys that part of his story was, like super unhappy in the WWE. While he had great success there, like he saw bigger things for himself and he took a chance on himself and he left. And I remember like when he left, remember that sweet like vignettes seems like it's like like they're not really even using those anymore. But he did.
Some of those.
Almost like he was like, yeah, remember that? Like he was like escaping from like a prison and he was being chased down and he was like jumping through like all these hurdles and I was just like, whoa.
Right before he went to New Japan.
Yeah, that was so sweet. Like that awesome vignette. I wish they would use more of that, like that to tell us a proper story though. But to me, it's just like sometimes less is more, like, do I like blood? Hell yeah, but when it's appropriate, not when it's, just like every Thursday and, like every pay-per-view. And then next thing you know, it's like you're bleeding whether or not, like, yeah, you have a match. So, like so the Hitman's like my favorite guy, like hands down. And recently, like I want to say, like he had an interview or something like that where he was talking about like John Moxley and like the kind of tone it back a little bit. So yeah, great talent. I just wish that he would just reel it back. That way, it can mean more when he does do like the big bloodbaths.
No, I can totally see where you're coming from because when it's happening all the time, it's almost like whenever you get to that point where it's like,
It's like we've seen this, It's like, it's like pizza's great, but if you have it every single week, it loses its luster, It's just got to come sparingly.
That is definitely true. Last but not least, this guy has had some great figures. I have a couple of them. Darby Allin.
Yeah, I actually love Darby Allin. Like he's not the biggest guy around, and like my earphone thing fell off. So yeah, he's not the biggest guy around. He's kind of dark and brooding and mysterious. And of course, like you have him paired off with somebody like Sting. And AEW was super smart where they didn't force Darby down, like everybody's neck, like it was a gradual thing. It was just like, okay, well, Sting's got his back, right? Sting's with him like at all times. And like you've seen him, like overcome people like Samoa Joe when Samoa Joe was, like on that tear. But yeah, I'm a big Darby fan, and he's had some sweet figures as well, man. I know that he had that ringside collectibles coffin drop exclusive, where he had like that body bag accessory, and then he had like that sweet jacket, that sweet coat. They included like multiple hands, I want to say. So yeah. One thing that I do hope that they include though is like a soft goods, like a coat or a jacket or something like that. Like he would be awesome for like the Supreme line. So when you do the Supreme line, to me, it's like you have to go all in, right? So you have to give us a soft goods. You have to give us a soft goods with somebody like Darby,
Oh yeah, that coat that he's been wearing as of late, get that in there. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, but it's got to be soft goods. None of that, like soft rubber kind of stuff. And then, like lately, like they've been playing, like these little Jedi mind tricks with this. They're like, well, look, it's it's this new technology. It's called Flex Force or whatever the hell they're calling it. I'm just like, no, you just use the cheaper piece of plastic and you're not giving us soft goods, but yet you're still charging us more money. So stop that.
Well, yeah, nope, I can agree. I've definitely seen a few of those there. Another figure of Darby's that I am particularly fond of that is in my collection is that Target exclusive where he has the skateboard and the TNT title. That one's pretty sweet.
Yeah, like I noticed like on a bunch of them, like the artwork alone, like on the skateboards, is so sweet.
Oh yeah.
I'm particular, to like that ringside exclusive though, like the everything from like the skateboard, it came like in the shape of a coffin. Like that they took, like extra care on something like that though. So yeah, if you don't have that, do yourself a favor and go out and get that.
That might have to get added to my list. Well, my second category that I have to kind of round things off, a little bit some random questions. I never really know what until I'm literally putting my notes together.
Okay.
And you just give me the first answer that pops into your head with each question.
Okay.
First one. If you have any of these left that you don't already have, what would you say is a holy grail item for you to add to your collection?
Something that I don't already have that I want is a holy grail. Oh, that's easy. Like if I was to like hit the jackpot today, I would go back and I would get like all the original WWF Hasbros, but I would get those mint on card. I'm not a mint on card collector by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. 99.99% of my stuff is all loose, but I can appreciate a good carded figure when it's done right. And of course, those hit me in the field, so it'd have to be those.
Nope, that would definitely be an item to have on there. I know for me, out of that particular line, if I had a holy grail item as far as wrestling goes, it would definitely be the Legion of Doom figures from that line. I am a huge Legion of Doom guy. I would love to have those. And I know another figure non-wrestling related, the original Ninja Turtles lines, they had those kind of military inspired line, and my favorite Ninja Turtle, Michelangelo, his one was actually Navy. And me being a Navy veteran, I'm like, God damn, if I ever found that one, I would have to get it.
Yeah, man. You should check out those Facebook groups. Like, you'll be surprised. Like, many times, it's just like you'll be surprised at just like at what you'll find, and at pretty good prices as well. So do check out those Facebook groups, the selling groups.
I might have to get a little more into doing those. Next question. We'll stick wrestling on this one.
Okay.
Who should have a figure that doesn't yet?
Now, is this a modern superstar, or can it be like old?
Heck, let's go one of each. We'll do a classic, legend guy, and then a modern one too.
So one figure that's always been my dream figure, but we'll never get it like in a Mattel form, is the like an Ultimate Edition Owen Hart, and like the classic pink and black. Of course, think about like all the possibilities that we could have with someone like that. And then like a modern action figure, like a modern guy would I'm big LA Knight fan, so it had to be LA Knight.
You know what? Yeah, I don't believe he's had one yet. I don't know if any of his other characters that he's played over his career have any as of yet, but yes.
I don't think he's had a figure, period.
Yeah, you know what? You might be right, but especially this the way his character looks going out there as LA Knight, man, they have some possibilities for some sweet looking ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, again, he's the kind of guy that makes me feel something. Like if you ask me to give me like a 5-star match of his, or I mean, I don't know, I don't care, like how many Canadian destroyers and what you're doing in these matches, but he makes me feel something. He makes me laugh. So I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm sold on him.
Nope, I get you there. Next one. If you are stuck on a deserted island, we'll go 2 people you'd wish were or you'd want to have there with you.
Like wrestlers?
Yeah, we can go wrestlers.
Okay. Let's see. Oh geez. Let's do Nia Jax, because like she's strong, but she's still pretty, she's still
Okay.
fierce. She can help
Okay.
me out on the island.
Okay.
Because of course, like I wouldn't want, like somebody like Wardlow around, just like another dude. It's like, nah, no thanks. That's not for me. And
No.
and then let's do Alexa Bliss.
Okay.
Just because like she's really pretty, and she seems like a fun person to have around.
You know what? I would have to agree that I in that aspect for myself, I kind of flip between Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch in that aspect. I actually got to meet Becky Lynch once. Nice person, nice as hell. But another person I personally thought of, just because he's an avid hunter. He loves the outdoors and all that, and I figure would be able to help with the, getting food together and that sort of thing. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I mean, he's cool. Like if you want to have a drink with the guy, but if I'm like on an island, like I don't want no dudes around me like 24/7. So it had to be,
No.
like a couple. It had to be like a couple of chicks with me. So of course, like you have your Nia Jax, easy on the eyes, but she can still get stuff done. And of course,
True.
you got Alexa Bliss, and then I'm the guy, so I can forage for everyone. So there you go.
No, I can't argue with the logic there. Not one bit. Next up, this guy caused a little bit of a stir right around WrestleMania time. People were wondering how this guy was going to factor back into things. Vince McMahon is back. Are you excited or not so much?
So he's a creative genius, right? But
True.
I mean, think about it. Like how many old people do you know that have their finger on the pulse of like what's cool and what's in? Because I don't know any. There's a reason why, like things come in cycles and people come in cycles. And it's sometimes it's okay to let things go,
Yeah. No, I
like he
can
could still he could still contribute, he could still do a lot of things, but man, sometimes you just gotta let it go, like that old quote says, like if it's meant to be, it'll come back in some way, form, or fashion, but
yeah.
if you love it, set it free, my friend.
Yep. Although now, even more so now that he's back, I'm still under that impression that for him to not be involved at all, it's probably going to be whenever he just dies.
Yeah, I mean, when pro wrestling is like ingrained in something, like it's in his DNA, it's like in his family. It's like, how does this guy go and do anything else? Like he doesn't even take vacations, from what I know, So
Yep, no, I totally agree. Can't argue
I
with
mean,
you there.
the guy obviously lost his mind. I mean, look, he came back like he looks like a video game supervillain, like he came back with a creepy mustache. He
Yeah.
dyed his hair. Like he's off hanging out with like random women of the night at like bars in Barcelona, going to parties, like obviously his time off did him no favors, right?
he
Now
he
he came back as a supervillain. That's
he
what he came back as.
Yep, he definitely reminds me, and I've seen this joke made on memes online. He definitely reminds me of that newspaper boss from Spider-Man.
Right? That's him.
Totally him. It's hilarious. Next question. I would feel weird with a title of my podcast like Drinking at Moe's if I did not have this question in here. Favorite drink, whether alcoholic, non, or, one of each.
Let's do lemonade because you can't go wrong with that.
Oh, yeah. No, lemonade's a classic.
Yeah. It's and not overly sweet. It's got to be a little bit tart, And
Oh, totally.
sometimes I even enjoy like the pink lemonade.
Yeah.
But I'm partial to the classic.
Yeah.
And then I don't drink anymore. And there's an interesting story as to why I don't drink. I used to be like not a heavy drinker, but I used to love to go and drink, like at parties and with girls and stuff like that. And I remember like one time being super drunk and then passing out. I woke up the next morning. Everybody was in line to go and get burritos. And as I was in line, there was a group of hot girls right in front of me. And I puked my brains out right in front of all of them. And after that, I was like, yeah. And after that, I was like, you know what? It's not for me. And so now it's been like almost 10 years since I've had a drink. And it wasn't because of like, oh, it was, like a serious, it was like embarrassment. I was like, you know what? This cost me me my ego. It possibly cost me like a date or a phone number or something. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this on my own.
Nothing wrong with that at all. I have always said when having people on, because I've had several people on that don't drink, I always say, just because the title of the show says Drinking at Moe's doesn't mean that drink has to be alcoholic.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember like what I drank that night too, like the night before.
Oh,
it was
boy.
like one of those like little mini, like, do you know what Taka vodka is?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like the cheapest, the lowest of the low grade that you can. It was like rubbing alcohol practically.
Oh, God.
And I drank like the little mini bottle, and I was just thinking like, yeah, I'll get a good buzz going. No, it was like borderline blackout, and then embarrassment the next day. And after that, I was like, no, I think I'm good, and I don't miss it.
No,
not in the least.
Nothing wrong with it at all. I know I've had my fair share of stories. One was right after a classmate of mine from high school had their 21st birthday. I got invited along. We did a bar crawl, and I remember leaving the last bar. I remember walking up the stairs to the house we all stayed at that night. In between, I have no fucking clue. Like literally, I thought that the house was maybe literally a couple blocks away.
Oh my God.
So I got up the next morning thinking, oh, I can just walk to my car. I get maybe a couple blocks away and my phone goes off, and it was the boyfriend of the former classmate of mine. He says, where are you? I told him, and he said, stay right there. I'll come and get you. Turns out what I thought was going to be a couple blocks was more like a couple miles.
Oh, no.
So luckily he caught me when he did, because I would have been lost as hell.
Yeah, that sounds pretty disastrous, especially, like when you're drunk.
Oh, God, yeah. No, and that I still drink, but nowhere near the amount or, nowhere near like the amount of times when I do it. I could go literally a few months in between times that I even do it anymore.
Yeah, like my only vice now really is just toys. Like I don't drink or smoke or do drugs. And I mean, I don't even need like fast food for the most part, like my only main addiction, is just like, oh, it's like that next plastic crack.
No, I got you there. Last but not least, for random questions, favorite food, and yeah, just favorite food, whatever it might end up being, whatever craving that you just love.
So right now it's a tie. It's a tie between Indian food. Like I grew up in the Bay Area, and like a lot of my friends were Indian, and they'd always invite me over to their homes. And
Okay.
it's kind of like the Mexican household. It's just like my mom says you have to eat, but I'm not hungry. No, no, no. She wants you to come and eat. I just ate, bro. I'm not hungry. No, but you really have to. And so
Yeah.
always being around it, I was just like, oh, it's like Indian food. And then it's also tied with, like my mom's chile rellenos, which is
Mm,
Mexican food, Mexican household, like you're always around
nice.
Mexican food. But it's like sometimes like the more you eat it, the more you kind of get sick of it though. But that's one that I'll never get sick of.
Oh yeah, no, I remember, speaking of Mexican food, being stationed in San Diego with the Navy, and some people would still be on the ship, and they would literally still be going out to places like Taco Bell, and I'm like, dude, we are in San Diego. There is I have lost count of how many damn random taco shops and burrito joints there are in this damn town. If you can't find a decent Mexican food without going to Taco Bell, you are not even trying.
Yeah, because I did like my fair share of like traveling as well, right? So when I'm, like in a place I know I'll never be in again. It's like, well, I want that kind of food. I don't want McDonald's or Pizza Hut or, like some kind of
Yeah.
fast food chain. Like
Yeah.
I've been to like places like Japan, I've been to Canada and all over Mexico. And, it's just like, give me what I can't get back at home. So,
Yeah. You
yeah,
want the local flavor.
of course. Yes. It just makes for a much better story later on too. It's just like, what I tried when I was in Japan.
Oh, yeah. No, I can totally agree. I am the same way. I don't want to go to some big chain place, even if it's not an international place that I'm visiting. I want to go to some place that it's like it's a local spot. The locals just love going there. They rave about it. I want that.
Yeah. And especially like the hole in the wall places, like
Oh yeah.
if they've got cockroaches around, and if the guy's like morbidly obese, and if he's like pushing 350, then that food is gonna be bomb.
Oh man. Yeah, especially down in San Diego where I was, some of the best taco shops were those little hole in the wall places that it's like, this is all the spot you got for sitting? Oh, all right.
And they're always the best, and you always want to come back for more.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the stuff I miss the most about down there, those little hole in the wall taco joints.
Yeah, well, I'm in California, so they're pretty much like everywhere here. Like the hole in the wall places. Like one of my big goals too in life is to own a taco truck. Like
Ooh, that would be
I'm
sweet.
yeah, so that's actually like on my I talked about this earlier, like writing lists and making
Yeah.
goals and making dreams happen, like when like you have a dream, you should always write it down. Why? Because when it's in your head, that's just an idea. You write it down pen to paper, then it becomes a plan.
Oh
So
yeah.
one of my plans is to have a taco truck. My uncle has a taco truck out in San Jose. So I was just like, what, if this guy can do it and if he could do all these other things as well, why can't I? Like
Oh
I
yeah.
can do my photography and my videos and like my brand stuff and like
Yeah.
why can't I do that? Like I'm very
No.
passionate about food. Like my mom, she always taught me, like how to make all the fresh salsas and the
Mm,
tortillas, la carne asada, and like la tienes que marinar. You got to marinate it,
mm.
and the way that you grill, even like those are all little things, that I picked up from family members like growing up. So I was like, what, if everybody else can do it, like I can do it as well.
Oh yeah. No, I totally get it. And hey, I wish you all the luck, and hopefully that all comes to fruition. Well, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on your figure kingdom, your figure photography, they can go ahead and get them there.
Yeah. So home base is my Instagram at Figure Kingdom. On Twitter, that's more of your flavor. I'm there at Kingdom Figure. I do TikTok now as well. I'm there at a Figure Kingdom. Facebook, Figure Kingdom. And always hit the link in my bio. In the bio of like my profiles, you'll see like all my codes there. It's a big help if you guys can use my code from places like, I don't know, Big Bad Toy Store or Entertainment Earth or Loom Cube or Ringside Collectibles. You know, like that helps keep the dream alive, though. At no extra added costs. And one thing though that I do want to say though is that if you have similar dreams, always feel free to reach out and I can help guide you along. You know, like towards a good path. And as I was saying earlier, do not take no for an answer if you do hear a no. Keep it going, keep it moving, keep working, and eventually you will hear yes.
Definitely. Great advice. Well, that is about all I have. Want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. And, best of luck out there with Figure Kingdom. And like I said a little bit ago, I wish you all the success in the world with getting that dream of the taco truck.
Thank you so much, my friend. Sincerely appreciate you.
Thank you very much.